Welcome back to my channel. It's Rene Marcus. Thank you so very much for tuning in. And if you're new, please do me that favor and press that subscribe button. So today it's all about culture. So everyone, it's more than welcome to call in. I'll also share the link in the comment box so you guys can join in as well. So today I've got African Diaries. So I'm just going to let her to introduce herself. And then this is more like a discussion. So she's gonna be talking about what she thinks culture is, and our culture in Gambia. We have different cultures as we've got different tribes in the Gambia. So we are just going to be sharing ideas and also teaching others about the Gambian culture. And if you've been to Gambia but you've got cultural shock, maybe we might come across those cultures that you've basically seen and you didn't quite understand it. But you can also comment down and tell us what exactly you want us to talk about in regards to a culture that you've seen in the Gambia but do not understand. But I'm just going to let African Diaries to introduce herself and then we can carry on.
Yes. Hello, Rene Marcus. Thank you so much for having me today on this live video. And hello to all of you as well. My name is Mari. I am the founder of African Diaries. So African Diaries is basically an online platform where I speak about Africa on Instagram, and on YouTube, I actually speak specifically about the Gambia. So yeah, as I said before, my name is Mari, and I am from the Gambia, which is one of the reasons why I dedicate the YouTube channel to Gambia. And I live in Sweden. I am a nurse by profession, and yeah, I'm all about going back to the motherland, spreading knowledge and inspiration about Africa. So yeah, that's a brief summary about me.
And I've also got your link in the description box, so people can go ahead and subscribe onto your channel as well.
Thank you.
It's in the description box, no problem. So you've mentioned about Instagram. Do you do like lives on Instagram as well, or?
Yeah, I've done live videos on Instagram. I've done a live video about African culture actually, and about Pan-Africanism. I haven't done too much live videos, but I generally spread information about different tribes, about Africa, changing narratives, and just sensitizing people to different subjects when it comes to Africa, really, in general.
Okay, that's great. So in regards to your channel, you also do, what is it, the Wolof series?
Exactly. I do.
So can you tell me a little bit about that, please?
Yes, and that is actually something that we have in common. We both do Wolof series on YouTube, which is very interesting actually, because before I started the Wolof series, I actually saw your channel, and I was like, oh, there's this Rene Marcus, she's doing the Wolof series, and I actually got inspired by that initially, and then and then I actually spoke to a friend. And she was all like, yeah, I'm not seeing too much, materials on Wolof. She wanted to learn the Wolof language. She's Wolof herself. And then I was like, but I can teach. Or like, I'm here. I can do something. And that also inspired me to want to start the YouTube channel, since I've been thinking about it for a very long time. But I never had the like enough motivation, or I never had enough like content to put on YouTube. And with the Wolof series, I was all like, now I have so much to talk about. I can never run out of things to talk about when it comes to Wolof.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was actually excited when you sent me an email and said that was something that you wanted to do, because it's completely different. And the thing is with YouTube, a lot of YouTubers, or should I just concentrate on the Gambian YouTubers, most of them kind of do the same thing. And when you actually came out and said you've basically done your research and you realize that not a lot of people are actually teaching, the language, and that's something that you wanted to do, and then you came across my channel, I'm doing it, and that's something you wanted to do. I got really excited because just me doing it, it's good, but then it doesn't show much of a good sign that a lot of YouTubers are out there, and especially Gambian YouTubers who should basically be showing how beautiful their culture is, how beautiful the language is, because you can't say if you call out a Gambian, every single Gambian has a culture. And in that culture, in order to have a culture, you must have a language. So for you to reach out to me to say, I want to also teach Wolof, everyone teach differently. So people might not basically understand the way I teach, or they might struggle. While when they come to your channel, it might be way easier for them to learn from your channel. So, or it could be the other way around. So for everyone to teach different languages, there's Fulas, Sarahule, there's so many different languages. You know, if we can add that onto our channel to say, okay, I can teach this language, why not help our brothers and sisters that want to repatriate? I've also done a video about how parents don't speak their language, their own native language, to their children. That child will end up growing up, that child will end up growing up and not being able to speak the language. When they go on holiday, they will be like strangers in their own motherland, you know. So us, the youth, teaching people out there, that will also motivate parents to say, oh my God, look how smart this child is. She's out there teaching her own language. I should start teaching my kids. Or they can just play for their children to learn. This is also another motivation. So when you look at it, if we keep teaching our people our language, the culture, this will definitely motivate a lot of people to respect and also prioritize their culture.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, language being a part of culture, and us, you know, having this connection to the Gambia, especially because we are speaking about the Gambia now, and also, you know, maintaining our language and not, you know, it, you know, vanishing in this midst of like, you know, because more especially to the Gambians living outside of the Gambia, because when you live in the Gambia, it's easier for you to, you know, to learn different languages, to learn the different national languages. But when you live outside of the Gambia, you do struggle to a certain extent to maintain the you know, the cultural values, and language being one of them. So us actually doing this online, and us actually engaging in our culture, in our languages, and also motivating people to do the same, that's something that I think is really important for us to you know, it's one of the ways to maintain our culture and our language, so that it doesn't fade away, you know, the more generations that come, so that, you know, we can motivate the youths to also carry on the language to the next generation. So I think it's very important. It's an important aspect to maintain the language, basically.
Absolutely. And you've also mentioned a very important point there, because if you're living in Africa, it's way easier for you not to only learn the main language, but also other languages around, because there's so many different cultures. So you get to mingle with a lot of people. So you end up speaking 3 to 4, sometimes 6 different languages. However, there are still some parents in Africa who have never ever traveled before, and have children that have never ever traveled outside the country, but still they wouldn't speak the native language with their children, but they will speak the international language, either it's French or English, because they don't want their child to speak Wolof or Wolof or any other local languages, because I've seen it, I've heard of it. People in the continent having children in the continent, but still their children can't even speak a proper Wolof or any other local languages. When they speak Wolof, you'll be thinking, was this child not born in the Gambia and raised in Gambia?
That is it's a sad reality. It is a sad reality. Because for me, I've actually come across that a lot when I watch series, like different series in different parts of Africa, with native Africans having an accent, and to me that's strange. It's strange to, you know, live in Africa and being born in the language, in the culture, but then you have a French or English dialect to your, you know, own. For me, that's it's strange. We should really, because to me that also shows that you have another ideal. Like you basically think that English or French or whatever have you is the ideal language that you should, you know, aspire to. You know, you basically try to copy the Western world in a sense. And to me, it's sad, because we already have our ways of speaking, you know, Wolof, Fula, whatever have you, like these different languages that we have in the Gambia. And for me, it's important to really hold on to them, to really cherish them, and to really respect them also, and not mix them up with these different like accents that we try to have, that we that just sounds like, it just sounds weird to me whenever I hear that. So it's basically sad in my opinion.
I understand. You've also raised something about let's say our brothers and sisters living in the continent speaking or adopting a completely different accent. That's mostly like almost, if not all, but 99% of the youths in the Gambia. I've got friends. I've came across people when they speak, I'm thinking, okay, are you from the UK or are you from America? You've got different accents going on. Where are you from? You know, because they are trying to be, and I call these wannabes, they are trying to be something else that they're not. They are actually losing their identities. They are forgetting their culture. They are forgetting who they are, which I think is very, very, very sad. Yes, I was brought up in the UK, and it's expected for me growing up with, let's say, different people and people that speak English. My accent will 100% change, different to when I first moved to the UK and growing up. So I'm not expected to have the same accent as Gambians in basically living in the Gambia. So, but knowing that, knowing that a Gambian that has never traveled before is trying so hard to have the American accent, trying so hard to act like an American or like a British, saddens me, because I just don't see the point.
No, me too, me either. And that really shows, to a certain extent, it's you can say that it's self, like devaluation or like self-hate to a certain extent. But you know, we can.
Just like you say, trying to be like a celebrity, trying to act like a specific celebrity.
There's no need, basically. We are beautiful, and our languages are beautiful. Our languages are funny. Our languages are, I just love our languages. So why can't we just speak it the way we speak it? That's basically the point that I want to put out there.
Absolutely. So for some of my subscribers that have not met you before, can you just tell us a little bit background about yourself? So were you born in the Gambia? What really motivated you to think, you know what, my channel is only going to be about the Gambia? And are you thinking of relocating back to the motherland someday?
Okay, yeah. As I said, my name is Marie, and I was born in Sweden, actually. My dad came to Sweden first, and then he brought my mom after a couple of years. And then I was born, and then I have siblings. My mom and dad are both here. And we are basically, all of us, to a certain extent, are like yearning to move back to the Gambia. Since I lived in the Gambia for like 4 years when I was a child. I came back when I was like 9. So that was basically the root of my like connection to the Gambia, because I got to learn about the culture. I got to learn about the language. That's basically how I speak. That's basically why I speak the language the way I do. Because when you compare it to other Gambians that were born in Sweden, you can spot a difference. Like I don't have the typical Swedish Gambian accent.
I noticed that because when you speak to me in Wolof, you sound like a proper Gambian, and you're not really slangish.
Some people I don't. I'm like,
Nangadev, Yankee fine. You're not like that. You're like, Rene Nangadev, Yankee fine, Nakasusuba, you just go with the flow, like a proper Gambian speaking Wolof. So which I like about you. You keep it natural.
But I think the reason for that is because of the fact that I lived there, and also for the fact that I've always spoken Wolof in the family, and like I have extended family members in Sweden. So my dad's siblings and my mom's siblings, I have a lot of cousins. Even though we speak more Swedish actually with my cousins, sadly enough, But I still, you know,
expected.
Sorry?
That's expected, you know, with the younger generation. When you see your friends or your mate or cousins, you just speak whatever language.
Exactly. That's like mainstream, yeah, to that country. That's true, though. But yeah, I've always had this like Gambia within me growing up. So it's only a natural part for me to want to share that to the world. And with me also having this interest in social media lately, YouTube, Instagram, and also wanting to you know spread the knowledge about the Gambia. And I just like you said before, I also was driven by the fact that I didn't see much of all of these you know Gambianness or like Gambia being promoted or being shown to people. Not too much. I mean, now you're seeing more of like the YouTubers coming up and showing the Gambia more and more. And I basically want to promote that as well. Since I love the Gambia, I want to show people that I do love the Gambia. I want change in the Gambia, and so I do, you know, educational stuff about healthcare, about development when it comes to different aspects. So it's basically me expressing myself and really truly reaching out to the Gambian people and also connecting the diaspora to the Gambia. So I have two sides, you can say, which targets the Gambians in Gambia and also the Gambian or like the African diaspora who wishes to have this connection back to the motherland, back to the Gambia. That's basically me providing that to these two groups. So in my channel, I basically say that I spread information and knowledge in hopes for the African diaspora to want to move back to the motherland, or at least focus on the motherland to a certain extent, whether it's you know repatriation or investment or whatever it may be, and also for Gambians to inspire them to basically live in the Gambia, to stay in the Gambia, especially the Gambian youths, and not to aspire to just move out of Africa thinking that they will get better lives for themselves, because it's not always a guarantee. It's not always a guarantee. Yeah, so that's basically me and my channel. That's basically the topics that I go into, the motivation that I try to create for the people, for Gambian people and the African diaspora. So yeah, that's.
I think your parents played a big part in this, because the fact that they moved you to Gambia in such a very early age, because you can only teach a child their culture when they're very young. You can't wait till they're old and then you'll be like, I would like to teach you the culture, unless that child is willing to actually learn the culture by following their roots. And it's going to be very difficult for an adult, but it's way easier for a child. So parents that have that know their culture, that has all the facilities and know exactly how to teach their children, I think they should. Because like I always say, we have a lot of brothers and sisters in the diaspora that are now wanting to know their roots, that due to the slavery that had happened and everything, and those people wish that they knew exactly what we know. They wish they had all those cultural education that we had from our parents. So parents that do not value their culture to teach their children, I think they should really start teaching their children as well. Because with me, because I moved over to the UK in a very early age, and my dad has always been the kind of person that would always want me to visit the Gambia every year and at least go for 6 weeks to spend time with my mom, because my mom, she's still in the Gambia. And this has really helped, because no one is perfect. Sometimes I might want to leave the right path to follow the Western lifestyle. And what my dad would actually do was he would sit me down and educate me again. And all he used to say to me is, it means remember where you're coming from. Think about your mom. What really made me to bring you over here is for you to have a better education, to look after your parents, and also move back to Gambia. And then he would start telling me about the culture. You know, for example, I dress some certain way, and he would tell me, You know, in Gambia, you wouldn't dress this way. You know, you put shame in the family if you were to do this. All of these, my dad will bring them and put them in the picture. Sometimes I wouldn't like it, and I'll end up having arguments with my dad. And but then I will go away and sit on my own. And then even though I'm angry, but then all of a sudden I'll start thinking about what my dad has just said to me, you know, and then I'll keep saying to myself, actually, my dad was right. And me visiting the Gambia every year, my mom will always advise me a day or two before I basically travel back to the UK. She will always tell me, start advising me till the day that I'm actually to board my flight. She will always advise me, Fata local fujige. My mom and dad always say that to me. And my mom always say to me, you're going, but I don't know when I'm going to see you again. So this might be the last advice that I'm advising you. So I always want you to make me proud, no matter where you are, and always remember who you are, you know? So all of this always motivates me to respect myself, to have pride, to be proud of myself, to be proud of being African. Because my mom and dad always say to me, no matter how long you've been in the Western, you will always be an African. You can never, even if you change your attitude, whoever looks at you will know you're an African. And that's true, because sometimes when I was younger, I'm like, why they're saying that I'm not African, you know? But then later on, I used to say that because having a different nationality, sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not African. But then later on in life, it actually taught me to actually be proud of who I am, because there's nothing like you being African. It's unique. It's my ID. My skin color, it's my ID. Whoever looks at me will know I'm African. And I have a lot of people in the past that even now that will look at me and say, where are you from? And I'll be like, Coventry. And they'll be like, no, where you actually from? Which means part of Africa you're actually from. So all of this, when you sit down and think, sometimes you get angry. But then when you sit and think, you'll be like, actually, I am African and I have to be proud. And me going all the time to Gambia, seeing my other relatives who are not basically privileged to have what I have, you know, looking at all that, looking at the culture, you know, when you go Christmas, you know, Tobaski, every country does it different, you know, Easter, when you go with the Nanburu, everything is completely different. And I just end up loving my culture so much and say, you know what, this Western lifestyle is not for me. I have to appreciate who I am in order to basically identify myself. Because when you say culture, it basically holds a lot of things. It has to do with food. It has to do with your language. It has to do with holidays. It has to do with festivals. It has to do with spiritual and ceremonies. It has to do with a lot of things that it has to do with a lot. It has to do with families and friends. It has to do with your blood and who you are and where you came from. Culture doesn't limit you. It absolutely doesn't. And sometimes I do read my comments, and sometimes I see people saying, Rene, you're sitting on YouTube in your house in the UK saying this about Gambia when you've just Googled it. I don't have to Google anything to know about my country. All I can do is do one call and basically know everything that I need to know about my country. And also, I have my mother, I have my uncles, I have every single family in the Gambia. So, but what do you have in the Gambia? You know, I'm sitting down to teach you about my culture because I want you guys to come back to the motherland, to have that lovely lifestyle that you want. You can only be happy in a country if you understand the culture of that country. You need to understand it in order to respect a culture. So when people sit there and don't absolutely know or don't even have an idea about a channel, go back and follow and basically understand why this person started this channel by looking back at their previous videos, at their old videos, in order to understand this specific person. So this is culture is something huge that people really need to understand. Just because a person is actually not in their country to educate about their culture doesn't mean that they're lost. It doesn't matter where you are. My culture is in my blood. It runs in my veins, and that's what matters.
Exactly. That's true, though. That's true. And I think the thing that you said about your parents, I think, can you hear me? I think I'm breaking up. Am I?
No, you're not.
Okay, the parents actually play a very big role in, educating people, or like children, sorry, children rather, about their culture. And I think it can be done in like different ways, because what you just explained was, I just love hearing that. I just love it, and I get motivated myself, since I have a child who's 2 years old. I get motivated hearing people say that, yeah, this is what my parents did, this is what my parents did. So I'm like, okay, I can use all of these methods and apply them myself in order for me to instill this onto my child, and when you were speaking about, they told you to not forget who you are, to always hold on to your culture, and also showing you what the culture is, with you, going to the Gambia, being with your mom, and also being exposed to the culture. I think all of those factors play a very big role. They basically play a very vital role in instilling cultural values and norms in a child or in a person. So for me, it was basically, from what I remember from my childhood, it was basically that the culture was exposed to me. Since I lived there, also I was around 4. I was 4 years old till I was like 9. That during that time, I was basically exposed to the culture. So I don't remember anyone specifically tell me, do this and do that, and remember who you are. Remember that you are an Olaf person, a Olaf person. This is this, this is that. I was basically shown all of that, and I came to realize that it's actually, when I growing up, and seeing all of these, coming back and seeing all of these other different cultures. It had a slightly negative aspect on me, since you were speaking about, you basically kind of denied that you were African. You're not African. I was basically, growing up, I didn't really like being associated to like the Gambia sometimes, because I saw other predominantly white classmates that would basically see me different. So I didn't want to be seen as a different person. So I basically didn't want to associate myself too much to being African, or being Gambian, which is very sad. I think that's a very sad part of my life.
I think that's every young child, really, because it depends on the environment that you grow in. That's why it's very important for parents to always have this conversation with their children, because a child might come back from school and have something very horrible said to them, but they might not want to say it to you, because at the end of the day, maybe the parent might go to the school, and that might cause a lot of clash between the child's classmates and everything. But you always teaching your child to educate your child about the culture. Show your child, when the child has holiday, take them to the motherland for them to understand where they came from, because culture basically defined who you are, defines a person. It helps you. Culture is a starting point to find your roots. So if you actually keep teaching your child and take your child to your country for them to learn more, that will educate that child a lot. And even if that child was to be bullied at school because of them being African or them being this and that, when you sit and teach your child that, at the end of the day, it wouldn't have that much of an effect to the child, because the child would know, oh, you don't know anything. Come back. You do what you're doing, But if you don't teach your child, and you just want your child to be so Western, then that's where the problem is, So
that's true. And for me, I've later on started to realize that it is actually it is a blessing to be part of, to be African, basically. I see it now as a blessing, and I see it also as like being rich in a sense, because knowing who you are, knowing your culture, and also knowing like it basically forms your identity. Because for me, I mean, I don't identify as a Swedish person. I don't look Swedish. I don't sound Swedish. I don't basically identify myself as a Swedish person. Even though some people tell me that I'm Swedish because I was born here, my passport and blah blah blah. And for me, it's like that doesn't define me. That doesn't define me, because my blood is Gambian, my blood is African. So all of these, when you land in the Gambia and you get this tourist stamp on your passport, that basically is like a stab in my heart, because I'm like, I'm not a tourist in my own country, but okay. Anyways, moving on. All of these things, the things that basically drive me away from my Africanness or from my Gambianness, to me, is very sensitive to me, because that basically takes a part of my Gambianness away, in a sense. And for me, that is quite sensitive to me, because I basically don't want to associate myself to anything else than a Gambian, and by extension an African, just because it's so dear to me. So that's basically what I also want to convey to people, to also love their culture, and to also think that their culture is an important part of their life. And in order for us to love our culture, in order for us to identify ourselves as African and as Gambians, we basically need to know what our culture is all about. We basically need to understand our culture. What is culture, what is not, and this fine line between culture and religion also can be mixed sometimes, and it can be perceived in negative ways, etc. But basically, going back to your roots, going back to your grandparents, if they're alive, or going back to your parents, and them actually explaining and showing you their history and what they have gone through. For me, seeing my grandmother's old pictures, and her telling me how Gambia was like when she was growing up, and their cultural norms, and the way that they used to live back then. That's basically what I think about when I hear the word culture. It basically associates me to my grandmother, and to their clothes, to the food that we eat, and the music that we listen to, and all of those variables that and also values and different mindsets, basically. That all of those things actually are a part of culture. And as you were saying, culture is a very big, it's a very big thing. It's a very big thing to also talk about. But I mean, in my experience, actually understanding and knowing about your culture is basically the first step that you need to take in order for you to love your culture, and to know who you are, to know who your ancestors were, and to basically know your people.
Absolutely.
So I mean, for me to ask you a question, like, what do you think? How do you think a person can love or know about themselves if they don't have the means of going to Africa, or because some people out there don't basically know where they belong even, and some people out there also don't have the means to go back to Gambia or go back to Africa. How would you basically advise them to hold on to their culture if they're not exposed to it that much? Do you have an opinion on that?
Yes, there is a lot. There is a lot of where you can always, connect with your culture, because number one, it depends whether you know which culture you're part of. Because if you know exactly which culture, or everyone has different cultures, because your mom's culture and your dad's culture might be completely different because of the But if you know exactly the culture that you belong in, you can go and do research about it. I'm sure you've got family members that can educate you about your culture. There are family members that can tell you how to practice your culture. There's so many ways you can read about your culture online, because social media has actually given it to us. There's YouTube. There's so many different platforms that can teach you about your culture. And being African, and if you're African, the culture, it's kind of similar when it comes to respecting, when it comes to food. Yes, we do have different type of food, but it's still similar. Let's say fufu. A lot of different countries eat fufu in Africa, but it's named differently, So there's different ways you can actually learn about your culture. social media, you can meet people. On Facebook, people do lives about their culture. People can teach languages, just like you were teaching Wolof, because you found that there's a gap, that not a lot of YouTubers are actually teaching their languages. You then came out to do it, and then you realized, oh, another YouTuber is already doing it, but that can't stop you. That shouldn't stop you from doing, from teaching the language. Teach the language, you know. So there's so many ways a person can learn about their culture and not even being in that specific country. If you do not know your culture, or you have no idea where to start, it's always best, let's say, to do a DNA test to know exactly where your ancestors are from, and then you can choose what culture you want to learn. You know, whichever way is easier for you. So there's a whole different ways. Even when it comes to the food, just type Gambian best dishes on YouTube. Then the chin will come up, Domana will come up. They will teach you how to actually cook. And you can be in your house and get all the ingredients and cook that specific meal that you want to try, because it's part of your culture. So people can't sit and say, oh, this person has lived in the Western for 25 years or for 50 years, they've forgotten their culture. It's because you want to forget your culture. You want to forget who you are, because maybe you are ashamed of who you are. Like the proverb in the Gambian language. So banye kodon le fafekang against nyao. Which means
I haven't heard that actually. I don't think so.
Exactly. If you don't like who you are, it means that you are basically the ugliest in that specific culture or community.
Okay, yeah.
So why would you hate your culture? Culture is something that identifies you. Culture basically shows you your roots. If you're doing something wrong and maybe everyone is talking to you and you still don't want to listen, but one day when something hits you so hard, you will sit and think about who you are, where you came from, what's your mission. And guess what? It's always the culture that you relate back to. And if you always follow your culture, you can never go wrong at whatever you're doing, because it's you. It's your beliefs.
It is you connecting to yourself, and also this connection aspect to basically connect with other people that are from similar cultures, or that are from the same culture, or like Africa in general. For me, that's very important, especially for someone who's lost, or for someone who basically doesn't know what part of Africa they're from. You know, in those settings, I think really reaching out to people and, you know, connecting to other Africans, that's a very important part of that. And I also think because we tend to underestimate ourselves sometimes when it comes to, you know, our languages, when it comes to our cultures and everything. We are a lot of Gambians in this world, mashallah. So for me, it's like whether you know one thing, whether you know one language, like it doesn't matter, because someone else don't know what you know. So you can teach that to someone else. You can reach out to someone else and actually you know, inspire them and motivate them to want to learn. So that's basic. That's one of the motivations that I have, because my Wolof is not perfect. Sometimes I just fake it till I make it. You know, my Wolof is not perfect always. So sometimes I'm like, sorry, what did you say? Not often, but I mean, the little that I know, I basically try to teach that to other people.
Sorry to cut you there. That's just like me. I always think, oh, I speak the best Wolof. But sometimes I'm talking to my dad something very serious, and he'll just sit there and laugh because I've basically mixed up the words, or maybe it's upside down. And I'm thinking, what are you laughing at? And then he'll be like, you just said this, but it's the other way around. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's very important as well to always speak the language with your parents, because not being in the continent, it's so easy for you to forget the language.
Exactly. And you know, speaking about Wolof, I actually had an incident with my grandma's cousin who lives somewhere in Senegal, where they have another accent, you know, and I don't really understand the Senegalese accent always, especially when they speak.
They mix it with French as well.
that's, you did aqua and me and I don't know, some, all of those things that they use in their languages. So this guy, or this like my grandma's cousin, he was basically speaking Senegalese, Wolof, and he speaks very fast. And I was trying to like almost like read his lips. I was like, sorry, Nganela. Like I was like, what are you saying? And he was like, you don't know all of your language, and I was like, total. He just cussed me out, and I was like, oh my goodness, I know how to speak Wolof, like, but I don't know your Wolof. What are you speaking about? What language are you speaking?
Completely different accent.
Yeah, exactly. So there are different accents, and it's also like a part of the process of learning. Because for me, I don't know if I would survive 100% if I went to Senegal, because I've never been there. But I would get by. I think I would get by.
That's another thing we have in common.
As long as you speak
I haven't been to Senegal.
Mm-hmm. No. So I mean, and so that's the beautiful part of it, because I've got one way of speaking it. You've got one way of speaking it. Okay, let's teach each other. Let's understand each other, so that we can have a common ground. That's the it's the beautiful part of it.
Absolutely. And that's what builds a community as well. Communication, helping one another, understanding one another, respecting each other's culture in order to learn from each other. So this is all part of having a culture, because you can't have a culture that you don't want to share, then it's only you. So that's why when you say culture is a huge topic, and you can go on and on and on and on to talk about it. But moving on, so what are your favorite food when it comes to Gambian dish?
For me, my favorite food, that's super kanja. Super kanja is my favorite. It's the
I thought you were gonna say Benachin.
Benachin is the standard. I mean, I think everyone loves Benachin in Gambia. I do like Benachin, but it's too like standard for me. For me, it's like it's super kanja, and I've come to notice that not everyone likes super kanja. And I'm like, are you a normal person?
I like super. I like super, but not as much as like other people. Let's say, because my dad loves super so much, so I cook like a lot and then portion it and then put it in the freezer. Or I can only eat it the first day that I cooked it, and then that is it.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that is it. But he absolutely loves it. So
he's like me.
How do you eat super?
I can eat super for breakfast, heat it up again, and eat it for lunch, dinner, and before I go to sleep. Like I'm literally telling you, when I move to super, I can eat it every time of the day. It doesn't matter.
That's like my dad. That's like my dad. He will eat a bowl of super with fufu, and then in the morning or even nighttime, he'll be like, super madasal, bete musmahel. And I'm thinking, you're not having any more. That is it. He's like, okay, keep it for me in the morning and heat it up. And I'm looking at this guy like, why are you having super in the morning? It's so heavy, but still. But
I can eat anything. Well, what about you? What's your favorite food?
My favorite, I think most of my subscribers know this, is mbahal.
It's mbahal. Okay, mbahal. I'm not too fond of mbahal, actually. Yeah, okay.
My dad always say that pretty girls don't eat mbahal. I guess I'm not one of the pretty ones because it smells.
Oh, really?
But mbahal is my favorite. It has to be my favorite. I absolutely love it. But when it comes to Gambian dish, I love all of it, and especially malabutanga in the morning. It's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Heating the rice in the pot with mixing it till, oh my god, till it's crispy underneath, and then mixing it again. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about it is that they always say, oh, it's not good to eat from the pot, but I like to heat it up and eat it from the pot instead of dishing it on a plate. So when I go to Gambia, my subscribers will see that a lot, me eating rice as breakfast in the morning. You know, the leftover, it's even the best, the leftover rice. So this is something that Gambians do a lot. It's absolutely nice. Absolutely. And ebe as well. Ebe is something that I'll be eating all the time. I absolutely love it.
I love ebe. I love ebe as well. For me, the thing is, like, when I go to the Gambia, I think I said this in a video also. I mix all of the, like, I eat ebe, I eat namburu, I eat, you know, dang with like yogurt or so. I eat all of these things untu, and like I just pick from different like tribes. I take for the Fuller tribe, I take the Wolof tribe, and I mix all of that together in my stomach. And then at the end of the day, I actually like become sick because I eat too much of different stuff, like trying everything at the same time, and I just end up, you know, having stomach ache, and then just regretting everything, and then doing everything back the next day. And then, like, you know, I basically never learned that I shouldn't really mix all of those things together, especially the first days that I get to the Gambia, because I'm so excited. I'm so like, I haven't had this good food in a long time, so I have to try everything. And so when I do, I basically end up with stomach ache and regretting and everything. But I mean, it's too good that I basically cannot like withhold from trying all of the food that I've been missing for so long. Because I basically go to Gambia maybe every other year, sometimes every year. But I've gone like a full year without actually tasting the real benachins of the Gambia. You know, it's basically different if you don't have the same like fish and the same basically in ingredients that you do have in the Gambia. It tastes different sometimes. So that like core taste.
Sometimes I think completely. Even crab, it's completely different. Like, because everything is fresh and it's made differently as well. The smoke. Absolutely.
So, what would you say? What do you love the most about Gambian culture, or like, yeah, about your culture? What do you love the most about your culture?
Well, I think the respect, the greetings, you know, because the minute you land in Gambia and you step your feet on the Gambian soil, the way they just welcome you, that's our culture. The way they just smile at you, that's why we're called the Smiling Coast. And the fact that in every single house that you go, Gambians are not greedy. They will welcome you to wait for food, to wait for either breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They want you to, and if you refuse, let's say you've been there a couple of times and you keep saying no, it's seen as an insult.
It is.
So, I just love the fact that Gambians are so open. You know, they welcome people. They just show you so much love, and that culture is just amazing. And I love going to Gambia around about December, the festive season, because there's so much festivals going on, you know, the hunting, the different type of masquerades, you know. Summertime, you have the kankurang because of the circumcisions that is going on. So you have different tribes doing their own kind of masquerades as well. So all of this is something beautiful to be part of, because it reminds you of who you are and where you belong. It just makes you love your culture even more. The fun is just so good. The drums, you know, the sabar, it's completely different the way we beat that drum. So it's always something that you dance to, you know. So, and let's say almost every year or every 2 months or 3 months, Senegambians are coming out with different dance moves and stuff. So there's so much when it comes to the music, to the dance. It's absolutely beautiful. So all of this, I love so many things about my country that I can just sit and talk about it the whole day. I just love the fact that a lot of people don't like the fact that we eat together as one family, but I absolutely love it.
I'm like, okay.
Because I did a video about it, how Gambians eat together, and you always have to eat with your right hand and not your left. And a lot of people were like, oh, no, I wouldn't do that, this, that. But this is our culture. You know, it's not, it may not be your culture, but it's our culture. You eating alone, it can be classed as you being greedy, you know? So us sitting together and eating, and when you eat, you must even if you, let's say you came back from work, everyone has had their lunch or dinner, and it's your time to dish out yours and eat. You can't just sit there and start eating. You must say, Kylie and or Kylie.
Yeah. I'm actually very bad at saying that.
So even me myself, you know, because I don't do that here, because it's either we all eat on our own plate, or sometimes they've already eaten. So sometimes I do call them, but not all the time. But this is part of our culture. When you eat, you can't just sit there. Oh my God, people will start disliking. Sit there and start eating and not inviting others. You know, if it's a child, they might come and eat with you. But if it's adults and you say Kylie, it's just a way of respect to say I'm eating. If you would like to come and try some, you can. They would then say to you, Jerejef, thank you. So it's something absolutely beautiful. And you know, when we eat, the way that, let's say, the female will cut, basically break the meat for everyone else, with the veg and everything, or your mom will cut the meat. The let's say the child is not allowed to touch the middle of, you know, the dish before an adult.
They're not allowed to touch that.
It's just such a beautiful culture. And sometimes maybe you've got your friends over, and your mom will dish out two big plates, one for the adults and one for you and your friends. And the fact that we will just eat, even though we're not allowed to talk, but because it's just us, we will start talking, you know, making jokes on the plates. And Euro, I don't know if you've done that while you're in Gambia.
Euro, oh my goodness, that is my childhood.
Euro and everyone
chicken legs, we just snatch it out of everyone's hand. Yeah, that's true.
All of that is absolutely that is my culture, and I'm proud of it. And if I'm in the Gambia, a lot of my friends, families say, "Oh, Rene, you're so down to earth. You don't act as if you're from England. You don't act as if, oh, you're better than us." Why should I, when I know my culture? Why should I? I miss my culture. I miss practicing my culture. And I'm basically with the right people to practice my culture. Why should I eat with spoon? Why should I? Because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, you've got long nails. My nails are clean. I can still break the meat. I can still eat. So why should I use a spoon when I can use my hand, you know, to eat properly, to enjoy that food?" So it's absolutely beautiful. And all these are the things all these are the things that I love about
you actually enjoy it in another way when you use your hand. That's something magical that I cannot even explain. when you eat African, when you eat Gambian food with your hand, it's another experience than to eat it with a spoon.
It's absolutely amazing. And sometimes I'll go to the supermarket with my friends and we will buy a big bowl of ice cream. And yes, we can dish it out on each other's cup or bowl or whatever. No, what we would do is have a spoon and sit together with a big bowl of ice cream in the middle, and we just start eating the ice cream like that. You know, sometimes, oh my God, it's so funny. It's amazing. It's something normal for us. Sometimes maybe it's 4 of us and we could only find 3 spoons. One person would actually use their hand. It's so cold, so they'll start jumping around and acting all silly. But these are the things that I love. These are the things that I enjoy. But I know that okay, I can't do that with my friends, because some of them will be like, "Ew, that's disgusting. I wouldn't do that." You know, some would just look at me like, "Oh, this girl, she's so weird." But I know going back home, practicing my culture, it's who I am, and I'm proud of it. Absolutely. I love it, and it just it gets me so excited talking about my culture, you know, when I'm there. And the way kids play outside is absolutely amazing as well. So school in the Gambia, break time or lunchtime, you know, we have our own games that we play. We play touch, we play
akara. I love akara.
or something like that. So we have so many games that we play. All of this is part of our culture. We have our own thing, which identifies us. So Gambia is
and for me also, like the culture being so inclusive. I love that part about Gambian culture, because it basically includes everyone. Just like the examples that you were giving. When you eat, you tell people come and eat, or when you eat lunch, like as a family, everyone sits down. and basically eat together from the same bowl and with our hands, just like you were saying. When you were speaking, I actually remember a guy sitting next to me. It was next to a shop or something like that, and he actually bought like muru, the bread. He brought bread with like eggs and everything, and then he was eating it, and then I came and sat next to him, and he was like, sis, do you want a part of my bread? He was like, sis.
Exactly.
No, it's okay, because I basically didn't know him, and he was eating, and I came and sat next to him, and he just felt like he basically cannot eat without inviting me, without including me. And I was like, no, so, it's okay. And he was like, okay, cool, because I saw that he was even like bothered when he didn't ask me to come and join. So I actually love that, and the respect also about our culture, that we respect our elders, and we basically include them also in our decisions in life. When it comes to marriage, and when it comes to ceremonies, naming ceremonies, we basically have our elders there, partly because of respect, and also partly for them to basically guide us in life also. I mean, you can never be too old to ask your parent for advice, or to include your parents, just like I see in some Western societies out here, like in Sweden, for example. For them, it's weird that you like for some Swedish people, it's weird that you basically include your parents too much in your life, or that you basically give them money, or you spend too much time with them. It's a different thing, and I've grown to appreciate my culture even more, because I feel more included in that culture. It feels more at home to me. It feels more like I'm being myself, and I'm also seeing myself in other people. I am a part of it, yeah. So
Absolutely. That is actually true, because while I was at uni, I used to work as a care assistant, because it was the most flexible job that I could do. So working as a carer, sometimes I could do like night shift, which is more hours for me. And in the morning, when we have to do the handovers and everything, I'll be so tired, and then they'll be like, well, you can go now and sleep. And I'm like, no, when I get home, I have to make breakfast for my dad, because I know he'll be up, or by the time I get home to make breakfast, he'll be up and get ready for work. I need to take his uniform out. If it's not iron, I need to do it, this, that. And they would just look at me like, is this girl crazy? Why do you have to do that? You're like a slave. And I'm like, no, I'm not like a slave. I'm proud doing that. That's my dad. They're like, well, yeah, but that's just being lazy. You're doing all that. I'm thinking, no, I'm thinking, you guys are so rude, because you're saying, calling my dad lazy for me doing this stuff for him. That's not being lazy. I cook for my dad. They're like, oh my God, my dad better not tell me to go and cook without uniform. And I'm thinking, you guys just have no manners. And me explaining to them that, at the end of the month, I send money to my mom, give some to my dad, even though he's in the UK, he's working, he's earning his own money. And they're thinking, your dad is working and you're giving your dad money. Mate, I asked my mom and dad for money, but not the other way around. I'm not giving them what I've worked for. And I'm thinking, that's our culture. It's you get excited doing that. At the end of the month, I hold my pay slip, or if it's electronic, I screenshot it and send it to my dad. He haven't asked me to done that, but I feel like it's a way of respect, to show my dad what I've earned, and whatever he needs, he can ask for it. Or I just feel like, okay, let me take this and that. That's all I need. Then I give the rest to my parents, because we believe it's part of the culture, is also kind of relate to the religion, because we want blessing, because the more blessings you receive from your parents, the more successful you get. That's what we believe. It's a religion belief, but it's also our culture. The more you respect your parents, the more you do stuff for your parents, the more blessings, and the more others in the community respect you, and others will recommend you as well. That's what we believe. But some other people will be like, Rene, okay, now you're so crazy. When you get paid, give me some of that money then, if you ain't got nothing to do with it. Exactly, because they don't know that. They absolutely don't know that. So they're thinking, oh, this girl, her culture is crazy. Or when I say, when you get married, house chores, the cooking and everything, you're expected to do it, unless your husband is willing to help you within, you know, within the house, to help you with some house chores. They're like, I don't even know how to cook. Every single day, my husband cooks for me. You know, my husband does all the chores. All I do is do the washing, you know, or a wife will sit over there and shout at the husband, can you do this? Can you do that? And I'm thinking, you dare not do that, because that is not my culture. You know, I see that disrespectful, but they don't. They see my culture disrespectful. You know, so everyone have their own culture, and our culture is unique. And I think there's nothing wrong with it. I absolutely love it because I enjoy it. I was grown up doing it, so it's absolutely normal. You know, sometimes I have so much things to do in the house, and dishes are basically lined up there. I'm not going to get angry because I've got my little uncle sitting down in the living room watching TV when he could actually go and help. He just gets up most of the time and do the dishes. And I'm like, oh, you're such a gentle guy. He's like, well, the woman should cook by right, but to do the dishes, we should help. You know, that's what he believes. You know? But then again, he's from Togo. And in Togo, that's what he said. That's the kind of thing that he does, because when his mom cooks, he helps out. That's how Togolese people do it. But in the Gambia, it's not how they do it. The ladies will cook and they will also do the dishes.
Yeah, and so they also clean. They also clean
and stuff. But he was telling me something completely different to what Gambians do. And he's so proud of it, standing there doing the dishes for me. And he's not ashamed of it. You know, my dad growing up, he used to go to the market for his mom. And because of that, he ended up going to the market for his wife in the Gambia. And a lot of people used to go against that. He used to dance with his mom, you know, while he was young. And some people in the Gambia would come to my grandma and say, that is absolutely wrong. You shouldn't be dancing with your child, you know, your child holding your waist and dancing. My nan is like, that's absolutely fine. But because that's her culture, but it's not someone else's culture. So culture is completely different, but if you guys live together, you can teach each other's culture and end up respecting each other's culture. You know, let's say growing up, my dad used to explain to me that how he used to help his wife do all the washing, because Gambia, Sunyo food, we have to have a big pan, 2 different pans, the clean one, yelandi, and everything. And all we do is bend over and wash the clothes. You know, my dad used to do that for his wife, you know. And a lot of people in Gambia used to say that is not right. A man shouldn't do the washing and stuff like that. That is disrespectful. Some used to say, oh, the wife used charm to charm my dad and stuff like that. But one day my grandma said to my dad, oh my God, you remind me exactly of your dad, because my granddad, he is actually from Togo, but then looking back, he's Portuguese. But then my granddad used to do this exact same thing for my grandma. And my dad didn't even knew his dad when he was young. He got to knew his dad, I think, in his late 30s. But then my grandma used to tell him exactly what his dad used to do. My dad was doing exactly the same, and not knowing that his dad used to do that. But because it's the culture of the that's why when they say culture runs in your blood, it's in your blood. You do certain things without realizing that is part of your culture. But some Gambians find it rude, or they would say, oh, that's not right for a man to do certain stuff. But in other countries, it's absolutely fine. My dad was doing it without realizing it's part of his culture in Togo. So,
and I mean, that should be allowed to be fine also as well. Because for me, it's like when we live out here, you know, me and my family and stuff, and what you're explaining right now, I do recognize that from the Gambian culture that that you see women doing most of the domestic chores, and you know, the man basically being the one who earns and brings, and that's something that is considered normal, and that's something that's considered part of the culture in the Gambia. And for me, sometimes it's like, especially the men, when they see that their wives are having a rough time, or like they're having a hard time, it's not bad. It's not a bad thing to help out. I mean, for me, it's like you're not going against, like, it's not you sinning. You understand what I mean? Like, it's not a bad thing to actually do some dishes. Like, it's not a bad thing to actually, help out at home.
Some Gambian men,
and
you
so,
can't.
some people don't.
Dare not tell them. You dare not tell them to do that.
I mean, sorry.
No, I'm saying some Gambian men, you dare not tell them to do the dishes or boil rice or help out, because it's the culture that you don't do that. So you don't do that. The lady has to do everything.
For me, that's kind of like, for me, it's not fair, like, most of the time, because sometimes, I mean, for me, I can do all of that, as long as I'm not like sick, as long as I'm not like, complaining, and you can always help out. That's basically my point. And for me, not basically having that courtesy, even that sense of like mercy in your heart sometimes. It's basically strange to me that so some people actually refuse to help out domestically when it comes to that part of our culture. And that has always been like a strange part that I have seen growing up. When I go to the Gambia, I've always asked my grandma and my female cousins, like, why are the men doing something in the house? Like, why are they always, they're either at work, or when they come home they drink attire, or like they just sit over there and just talk to each other. Why can't they just like help out and do certain things? And for me, like, you're starting to see in Gambia itself that some of the men in the house, they actually go to the market and help their wives in certain aspects. Maybe they're not the best cook, and that's okay. I mean, if the wife wants to cook, then the wife can cook. But I mean, just relieving some domestic like chores, in my opinion, it's not anything bad. I mean, we can always try to help each other even more than we are doing right now. And there was actually one other aspect that I wanted to touch upon when it comes to our culture, and it's our clothes. Our clothing. That is one part that I love about our culture as well. For me, it's like Africans in general, like we are the only ones who can take different different nuances and different colors that have nothing to do with each other, blend them together and make a very good style. I mean, you can take all of the world, bring them together and make like art with it, so I love like Gambian clothes. I love, and it's similar as well. It's similar to like Ghanaian clothes and Nigerian clothes, and traditional clothes.
Just like I say, the African culture is similar. So when you say culture, it basically it has a lot to do with it. So the clothes, it's absolutely similar. So the materials is similar as well. So and also one thing I realized, when you wear an African dress, it looks absolutely beautiful on you. It basically brings out that.
It's so nice. Yeah, I love that.
It's so beautiful. Absolutely. It basically brings out your figure. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So that's something that I absolutely love about the our African dresses. I think it was Ibrahim Ajeng that mentioned that eating together also teaches kids how to share, which is absolutely true, because you're sharing food with everyone else, which you then mentioned about, the guy that you came and sat next to, and he was eating egg sandwich, and he was like, have some. Some people will find it rude, your salivas, why would I have some? But it's absolutely and I can remember growing up in school. I don't know whether you've been in schools in the Gambia, but if, let's say, your friend buys food, a sandwich and stuff, they've already started eating it. You will see either me, Rene, will come and say, Mayma means give me some. And then your friend will start the bread tiny bit, giving everyone, that's part of our culture. That's what we know, and we do it. But if you go to school in the UK, you won't be eating your sandwich, and your friends will be like, give me some, and then you start cutting it. No, you wouldn't do that. Everyone would have their own lunch and stuff, you know. So this is all things that we absolutely know, and it starts from home. When we start eating together, it means that we're sharing our food with everyone else. So it's not something new or different when you go to school and your friend says to you, Mayma. Sometimes you'll be like, you would be the one giving your friends like, danga buga.
Exactly.
Do you want
before
some? Yes, even before they say it. Or you'll be like, I don't like this, have this. My dad was explaining an incident when he asked a kid, I think the kid had 2 cookies or something like that. He had some snacks with him, and I think he ate one of the snacks, but then the other one was too much. He couldn't eat it. He didn't want it. When my dad said to him, can I have that one that you don't want? He said, no, he's not giving it to my dad. What he then did is put it in the bin instead of giving it to my dad. When my dad said to him, why did you do that? He goes, because it's mine. You know, he was not taught how to share, how to give. It's mine, it's his, because he believes it's his. He doesn't have to give it to him. He has all rights to do whatever he wants to do with it. So this is where, so it's completely different. So the way we were brought up, it has an impact, you know. Growing up, your parents teaching you the way of life, your culture. Culture is something very important, because it doesn't only help you while growing up, but it also helps you in the future, how to work with other people, you know, other people that have different backgrounds. You will go in a workplace, you have completely different people from different backgrounds and everything. If you don't like the person, it doesn't mean that you're going to quit your job. You still work with them because it's only a couple of hours. You still have to manage and work with that person. We don't work with people that we like all the time, but it's because of our culture that will educate us that we're not here to like each other. We're here to work, and after work, I'm gone, you're gone. So culture is very important, and if a child doesn't have understand their culture, they are losing their identity, because
they're losing out.
They're losing out big time. You will see a child saying to their parents, you're lying, you're not saying the truth, using the F word to their parents. Do you think a child will say that to their parent in the Gambia? Do you actually think? Or a parent talking to you and then you're walking away? You know, we do that because we're in the Western, because we've adopted a completely different culture, something that we were not brought up in. But then we're doing that because we know that back home, most of us wouldn't do that. Because, oh my God, you know exactly what's going to land on you.
There was actually an incident at the hospital. There was we had 2 patients. One of them was a child, and then the child was with her mom, and then her mom said something, and she was like, "Keep quiet, mom." She didn't even say like you know shut up or like you know the F word or anything. She said, "Keep quiet, mom," and I was like. And I was the only one who basically reacted there. But the other ones, they were like, "Oh, okay, then I'll shut up. Please, sorry." And for me, I was like, "La." This child just basically said, "Keep quiet, mom." I was like, that would never fly in the Gambia. You do not tell your parent to keep quiet or to shut up or to you know have that bad language towards them. That's something that you would never do. So for me, that all of those things they are strange. Like even when I see them on TV, I'm like, if my son was ever to do that to me, hey, God help me that day. I don't know what I would have done. It is so rude. I mean, that it's so it's not part of our culture. We respect our elders basically, and we don't speak like that. The ones of us who do, I mean. Yeah, that's another story. But I mean, it's all part of the respect, just like you were saying before. It's all part of the culture and the respect for our elders.
That's why I said to you, your parents had a big role in you accepting who you are, because most Gambians, I know that not even just Gambians, but a lot of Africans, when they have a child in the Western, what they will do is take that child back home for a couple of years till they know how to speak the language, till they understand the culture, because then they've been taught exactly. So that when the child comes back and start misbehaving, the parent can then relate to you to your culture by explaining, do you know you wouldn't be doing this if you were in Africa? You know this and that. Straight away, that child would know I'm doing exactly what I want to do, but I know 100% this is not my culture. That child, if yes, sometimes parents do try. They do their best. They will take you to Africa. They will do everything that they could in their power for you to be the best out of the best. But then, and at the end of the day, that child is out there in the streets, do whatever they want to do. And the parent has no control over it. If a child wants to be bad at the end of the day, that child will be bad anyways. You know, but the parent, you have done what you had to do as a parent without regretting anything. You know, no one can be on the phone to you or your family member. I told you to bring this child to Africa so that they will understand their culture and stuff like that. You've done what you have to do as a parent at the end of the day. So yes, culture is very important. It tells us who we are. It identifies us. It's a starting point for us to know our roots and also to understand who we are. And also, if we are lost, we can always step back and say, you know what, let me go back and start where I came from. You know, culture is very, very, very important in our life. And in order to be successful in whatever, even the business has a culture. When you open your own business, you know, that environment has a culture. You need to adopt a specific culture in order to be successful. If a business doesn't have a culture, there's no way that business will be successful. So it shows that culture is very important in whatever we do, because it's the root, it's the backbone of who you are. It identifies, and it's basically like what is it? It's like you pointing out your goals, or you writing your goals. This is what you want and this is what you're aiming for. So knowing your culture is your backbone. You can always go back to it. So that's how I see culture. So yes, no one is perfect. We do this here and there sometimes, but that's why we always need our parents to just sit us down and educate us. You know, my dad is the kind of person that educates me every single day, all the time. And sometimes when he starts talking, I then talk along and say, yes, you've said this and that. He said, yes, I'm going to keep saying it so that whenever you want to do something like this, you will always remember always hear my voice in your head, me saying this, so that you wouldn't do it. You know, and that's what they're there for. They are our role models. You know, if we're doing something wrong, they shouldn't give up. They should keep talking. They should keep doing what they have to do in order for us to be who they want us to be at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great summary also. And you know, practicing the culture, also including the culture in our lives. Whenever we do something, whenever we embark on a journey, or whenever we hit another part of life, like when we get married, or maybe when we have children, when we basically do certain things in life, also remembering our culture in that, and actually practicing doing the steps and the things that our culture basically tell us to do. All of these like ceremonies and customs and values, including them in our lives, also keeps the culture alive. And also passing that on to future generations, just like we spoke about before, especially us living here in the West, where we don't see it as rampant as we do back in the motherland, because it is different. It is different how we even practice the culture out here and how they do it in the Gambia. You know, and to never forget who you are, basically, to always try to stay connected as much as possible to your culture, so that you don't forget who you are. Because just like we said before, you are basically losing out. You're losing out of so much like wealth. I mean, it's rich. You know, being part of the culture makes you a rich person. Richness is not all about, you know, money and assets. It's also all about being content, knowing who you are, and also you know, being strong within yourself, having that identity. And it really comes partly from culture as well. So those are very good, and you know, it was a good conclusion that you just gave there. And also to add, just to, you know, practice our culture, never to forget to include our culture in our lives. That's also an important you know, aspect when it comes to, you know, food, clothes, values, all of those things, basically.
Culture is important. So I hope people have learned from this today, and it will be very,
I
very.
hope so too, and I hope people have related. I hope people have related also to the things that we have been speaking about, because I just remember like my childhood in Gambia when you were speaking about, you know, Giro and all of the games that we used to play and everything. I just had a little like trip back to my childhood.
Exactly.
Just now, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
that's true though.
So that's definitely who made us who we are today, and it's just very important because culture is something very important, because if you're, let's say, a Gambian and your parents have never taught you about your culture, not the language, not anything, and they decided to relocate back to the Gambia to start a business with you, and maybe, let's say, you are well educated, they need you for that business, and there are some errands that you have to run in order to get the business started and stuff. When you get to the Gambia, how are you going to communicate with people? How would you understand what's the pros and cons of the country? You know, because I always say, if others that are not from the Gambia can go to the Gambia and be successful, how about us, the Gambians? What are we waiting for? The reason why I'm saying that, because I know my country. You don't know my country more than I do, because that's where I was born and raised, and I understand my culture. I understand my people. I know how to make my way around and do what I want to do. I know how to get what I want, because one, I can speak the language. Two, I understand my culture. Three, I understand the people and know what I'm doing. So if your parents have actually hidden all that away and taken all that from you, if you go to the continent and say you want to start all over again, you are going to struggle more than our brothers and sisters that are willing to learn, that are repatriating back to the motherland, you know. And sometimes people will be like, oh, what's your name? If you say, for example, Fatu Samba or whatever name, and you're absolutely acting rude and stuff, they'll be like, wait, she's Gambian, but she doesn't even know her culture or talking to me somehow. Then I say, then to me. Go so that your mom or your parents will teach you how to talk to your elders, how to have trainings, then come back and talk to me. Those are the kind of things that you'll get, and everything will be so hard for you. It's going to be like a punishment instead of an enjoyment. So this is why it's very important for parents and us, the youths, to understand what our culture is, to love and embrace our culture. Because don't expect someone to love you if you don't love yourself. You know, if you're taking someone else's culture, you're only fooling yourself, because you can never be that. And respecting other people's culture should always be there. You have to respect others' culture in order to work with others. I think that is it for me.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, like especially when it comes to the language, we really shouldn't aim for speaking English when we go back to the motherland. We really shouldn't aim for, you know, speaking these international languages, French or whatever. Just because the language is there in the Gambia, you can be like, I can get by just speaking English. That's like, no, we should aim for better. We should aim for, you know, building this strong identity with the language. And also connecting to the elders, because my grandma, for example, she doesn't know how to speak that much English. Like, she's trying, she knows some words, but I mean, you cannot really connect with them 100% the way that you will want to if your aim is just to, you know English and that's it. I mean, we should really try to basically adapt to the culture when it comes to languages, etc. And I actually thought about one thing. My friend came to the Gambia. She's not Gambian, and she was like, Gambia is the only place I've been to where people were just helpful. They just wanted to help me, and it was like genuine. And I was like, okay, yeah, you saw that at the airport. She was like, yeah, everyone was like, can I get your bag? Can I get your thing? Can I get your, everyone was so helpful. And I was like, okay, I just felt like everyone took care of me. And that's basically how we are. That's who we are as Gambian people. We tend to take care of each other, and we tend to, include each other in our families. Even though you're not family, even though, you're a stranger, to a certain extent, I mean, we all have this inclusive culture, and it is a beautiful part of our culture, and I love that part about our culture, because wherever I go, I feel like I'm blessed to be a Gambian, and I'm blessed to be part of such beautiful people, the smiling coast of Africa. I am blessed to be part of that, so yeah, I'm very grateful to have this in my life, and to have been fortunate to also being able to practice it and see it, and also hopefully I'll be able to pass that torch onto my son when he grows up, hopefully. So yeah, that was basically everything for me too. So and
really.
Sorry? Hmm?
I said that was it really. Also, another thing that I forgot to mention, in school in the Gambia, we had to speak English. And the other day I was saying to my dad, I just sat down and thought of it. And I was like, Dad, why do we speak English in the Gambia, like in school? I don't think we should. I think Wolof should have been the main, because we write in Wolof. We have our own spellings, our own words and everything. They should teach us, because then I think it would make the kids smarter. Because let's say if you were to go to France or any other country that don't speak English, they would actually speak their own languages in school. English can be there. If you want to learn English, that's fine. But then I think it's going to be easier, and it's going to make the kids smarter as well, for them to be taught their own language, rather than, especially maths. Maths is very, very hard. I'm very bad at maths. But I think if I was taught maths in my own language, in Wolof, in a language that I truly understood, I think I would have been even better at it. If you go to China, they teach their students in Chinese, but then they also teach English. But then English is just an extra language for them. But you have to teach your child your own language. And I think a lot of Africa itself should start thinking about that. The government should start introducing this. We have international schools. If you want your child to learn just English, those schools are there for them to go and learn just English. Yes, some presidents out there, they wouldn't speak English when they do let's say doing big speeches out there in the news. They will speak their own native language, and then that language would then get translated to English. So but it's like English is the best language. Everyone just has to speak English, when it shouldn't be. So
it's sad. I mean, for me, it's just like Sweden. I mean, Swedish. We only speak Swedish in Sweden. Other parts of Europe, like Finland and Denmark, they can understand Swedish to a certain extent, but it's really the only language that we speak English as an additional language, and that's basically why I know English too, also because I've had it in school, but it wasn't the focus. So I agree with you. Like, why can't we just take one of our? Sorry?
It shouldn't be. English shouldn't be the main focus if that country doesn't speak English, But
Exactly. It shouldn't, and that's 100% something that we should do, because we have many languages in the Gambia. Why not pick one, like Mandinka or whatever language we pick, and make that the official language of Gambia? I mean, why should English be the? I mean, it's part of colonialism and post-colonialism mindsets, and all of that still being part of our societies, and still being part of our country, basically. For me, I would appreciate that so much if we had other languages, because I can speak all of, let's say, like 80%, Mandinka like 1% or something, if I can even count it as 1%. Full nothing. I don't know anything about the other languages.
Yeah, it's a shame, because it's very bad.
I am missing out on that. I am.
Absolutely. Because I had to teach myself how to spell in Wolof. And most of the time I go to my dad, is that how you spell it? Dad, and I'm thinking, while I was in the Gambia, I should have been taught this. But in Gambia, when you speak Wolof in school, they say they call it vernacular. Oh, you're speaking vernacular, you pay $1 out of your lunch.
Yeah,
You know,
I
if you
remember
speak
that.
Wolof,
They
yeah,
beat
if
us.
you speak Wolof in the classroom, it's only English allowed in the school, premises. You would have to pay. So, for example, if you have $5 for lunch, let's say you keep mistaken speaking Wolof all the time, like Rene that loves our culture so much and her language, that $5 is gone before lunchtime, because every time you speak, your name is written, they will then take $1 of you. It's not fair.
You
It's
basically owe
absolutely not.
people at the end of the day. you basically run out of money. I mean, it's so
Exactly.
sad. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's just not fair. And most of the time, if you go to schools and you try to speak with young children English, they have no idea what you're talking about. Absolutely. Do you think that child will understand what's going on in the classroom? They wouldn't. So why are you actually making that child to go through all that? That is just a big failure. Like it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I think it's something that we Africans need to fight for. We need to have our own language. We can use Mandinka, we can use Wolof, I don't mind. We can use Fula, whatever, Swahili, I don't mind, but let it just be an African language, or each country to use one of the main languages that everyone speaks, or the majority. Mandinka or Wolof, it's fine for me. All of us will learn. The kids, it's going to be way easier for children to learn and understand subjects and enjoy the subjects as well.
That's true, though.
But
it's true. I mean,
that
it can be something that can
issues.
be for in the future. I mean, you never know what the future holds. But it is basically up to us. It is up to us, because we are the people of the Gambia. The future then generations will take over, and we are basically the future leaders of the Gambia. So it is basically, to a certain extent, up to us. And I actually came across, I think it was one YouTube channel on a repatriated family, and they actually thought it was strange that their kids couldn't learn how to speak the national languages in the Gambia at schools, because they were like, why are they teaching them English rather than Wolof or Mandinka? We didn't come here to speak English like we have always done, in our lives back in the West. We basically came back. Part of it is to learn the languages and also being able to speak it. And if they don't teach it at school, where are they going to learn? And so we basically teach each other and learn from spoken, because all of it initially a spoken language. And that's basically how we learn it. I've never been to school and learned Wolof, so I don't basically know how Wolof is spelled at all. I just spell it how it sounds. Even though now in recent years I've seen that people have come with like official books and stuff, but I mean, that could have basically been done earlier, and it should have been introduced earlier to the Gambian population, basically, to maintain this the language aspects of our culture, no matter what language it is. But you still find people speaking 3 languages, 4, 5, sometimes even 6, just like you said before, and that's something that's normal. That's something that's just like I said before, it's something that basically makes you a rich person, just because you can take part of so many different aspects of the cultures of the people. It's a whole another level, basically. I know like 3 languages, and for some people that's impressive. For me, that's nothing. That's basically the bare minimum that I could have achieved. So I mean, there's so much potential, and I hope to also increase my language skills in Mandinka initially. I'm basically learning how to speak Mandinka. We'll see how that goes next time I go to the Gambia.
Yeah. And I just had to leave this comment up. Should you love part of your culture that the ancestors adopted from foreigners to facilitate trade? Let's say I love my culture. I absolutely love my culture before any other culture. And I respect every other person's culture. Even if others find it crazy, I'm not going to disrespect people's culture. And our ancestors were taken away. Most of them were taken away, and they were forced to learn a language and also adopt a culture that they didn't want to, because they were perfectly okay where they were. So I absolutely respect others' culture, but I love my culture, if that answers your question.
Yeah.
So yeah, so definitely our language is something that we can teach in schools, because I just don't understand why we are teaching our children English when that should be an optional thing. You know, it's good to learn different languages, don't get me wrong, because it helps you to communicate. That's you accepting others' culture. But before accepting other people's culture, you need to understand your culture first and love your culture before saying, you know what, let me go check that culture out. But what's your culture? Do you understand your culture before explaining someone else's culture? That's how I see it. So in the future, we can make the changes because we are the future generation of Gambia. So that's why my platform, I try to motivate a lot of the young generation that are in the diaspora to work hard, you know, forget about the partying, the expensive outfits, the beautiful houses that they have in the Western. Work hard, save their money, and do research about their country or whichever country in the continent, and go and invest back home. That's basically the only way we can make change, because our colonizers can't make the change, because how long have they colonized us and there has been no change whatsoever? So it's only us. No, so it's only us that can implement that change, and with our hard work and our ideas, our education, working together. I always say this, joining hands together, that's the only way we can do it. So working hard, knowing who you are, where you came from, that's the only way you can save up and go back to the motherland. A lot of people keep saying, Rene, why are you still in the UK? If you watch my previous videos, you will know exactly why Rene is still in the UK. I don't have to repeat myself again. So do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, so there was also making a no, but I mean it is completely true what you're saying, and we should aspire to, you know, be stronger in ourselves, do more for for ourselves, do for self. That's basically a term that I use a lot in my channel as well. Basically investing in ourselves in different aspects, and also realizing how blessed and rich we actually are, and where we came from, what we came from, which type of like people, leaders, queens, kings that we actually came from. If we learn our history, you know, all of the great achievers, all of the great people, by extension, like the whole of Africa, what and where we came from. It's an important part of ourselves, knowing who we are today, and basically taking that on to the next generation. I think that's a very important part as well. So we are the ones who can make changes. We shouldn't expect anyone else to make changes for us, because they will make changes, or basically they will make changes that will benefit themselves and not have our people's best interest at heart, rather. So let's not let the country the language die out. Let's not let, you know, the culture die out. Let's be proud of who we are, and also basically keep our heads high, and be optimistic of the future, because I really think that we have great potentials, Gambian people, Gambian youths. So I mean, I still try to motivate that, and I still try to preach that, if you may. but I believe that 100%. So I mean, keep doing what we're doing, and don't forget yourself in the process. Basically, don't forget who you are in the process.
Absolutely. I just want to take this opportunity while I'm still live. Okay, I'm trying to share this. Okay, so if any of you have Instagram, if you can please go and follow Gambianison. It's an organization that I've started with other Gambians, but then I'm not gonna mention anything about the company yet. It has been registered, but it will be announced soon. So if everyone that has Instagram can go and follow this page on Instagram, I would truly appreciate it, because once Gambianism is out, it will also have a YouTube platform as well, which is only going to be about Gambianism. You guys will be the first to be notified about it. So because we're talking about culture and everything, and education wise, learning the language and everything, so I truly appreciate it if you can go and follow Gambianism on Instagram, please. Thank you.
That is a great initiative, actually. Going for Gambianism. Yeah, I saw it. I saw it before on your, I think on your YouTube. Sorry, on your Instagram.
Instagram, yeah. I did posted it for people to go and follow. So yeah, so if people go and follow, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's very. And I'm looking forward to that. It sounds very interesting, though, to know.
And it's very powerful as well. So
exactly, I look forward to that. That's a great initiative. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's everything. We've said it all, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, we have spoken left and right, up and down. But it's
so
interesting. Yeah.
We've touched on the important points now. So I think I saw a comment that I wanted to comment on.
Okay.
Oh yes, OS 92. We did mention this about how Gambians like to speak with an accent nowadays, either the English or the American accent, mainly the American accent, because they think, oh, you're so smart and so cool when you have the American accent and when you speak a proper English. Sometimes we all do this. When someone speaks English, they start laughing. Or they go, but we all had to learning. It's not our mother tongue at the end of the day. So I have a habit of saying basically, it means that English is not my first language. It's not my mother tongue. So when I speak Wolof, I don't constantly use one single word in every sentence before I start. But this just shows that English is not my first language. It's a language that I had to learn. And English was also one of the languages I was so scared of growing up. So I think I've mentioned this as well. So I say basically a lot. It's just in me. I just can't stop. Even my cousin the other day said to me, you know what, Rene, I noticed something. When you speak English, you say basically a lot. I said, oh my God, even subscribers say that to me, but it's just me. But then again, that's what I'm saying. If we were taught Wolof and also English being optional, then no one will look stupid when they stand there and speak. You know, when we have speech in Gambia, you have to speak English. They'll find the best student that can speak the best English. And when you speak English, even if you're stupid, they'll be like, oh, this girl is so smart because she can speak English.
Exactly. That's because of the way they speak it. That's so cool. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's absolutely crazy. But I think that's everything for me. And do you have anything else to say?
No, I've basically said it all. I mean, you said it all too. I mean, it's all about reconnecting and staying connected to our roots, basically.
That is it, really. So thank you, everyone, for being part of this live today. Truly appreciate it. It was an interesting one with African Diaries. Just like I say, if you have not subscribed to our channel, her link is in the description box. Please, please, please help her grow, help us grow. Just go ahead and subscribe, please, and do watch her videos because she does have interesting topics as well, contents. So thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in my next video next week. So goodbye.
Thank you, Rene. Thank you for having me. See you next time.
See ya.